A guy pulled into my shop last fall with a truck that had 42,000 miles on it. Second transmission, 11 dealer visits in under 3 years, a $60,000 truck, and I am not telling you what brand it was. Not yet. Today I am putting the Ram 1500, the Ford F-150, and the Chevy Silverado 1500 side by side. The version the dealer never shows you and the brochure never prints. The version you figure out at 60,000 miles when something expensive breaks. And the brand that surprised me the most is the one sitting in the back of the showroom that I have been walking past for years. We are starting with Ford because the F-150 has been the best-selling truck in America for over 40 years. But I personally think that sales record is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now that the actual hardware does not deserve. Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission has been in basically every F-150 since 2017. That gearbox has more complaints filed with the government than any other truck transmission on the road right now. Over 3,500 complaints sit in the government safety database. Those are real owners filing real reports because their trucks are shuddering, slamming gears, and leaving them stranded. I had a customer bring in a 2022 F-150 Lariat with the 3.5 EcoBoost. Around 30,000 miles, the transmission started shuddering between second and fourth gear. It felt like driving over a rumble strip on smooth pavement. Ford tried a software reflash, then another reflash, then a complete valve body replacement, and then another reflash after the valve body. None of it worked. He traded it in at a loss because he could not trust it to tow his camper anymore. That is a $62,000 truck that did not make it 3 years. And this part fires me up more than any of it. Ford has known about this for years. 5 service bulletins for this exact problem go back to 2019. Every one of them says basically the same thing. There is a class action lawsuit covering 2017 through 2023 F-150 trucks that is still going through the courts right now. On top of that, the feds recalled over 34,000 replacement transmissions in 2025. These were the rebuilt units Ford was putting in as warranty fixes, and they were missing a thrust bearing. Trucks were rolling out of park on their own. The replacement transmissions had their own recall. The other thing, F-150 owners do not find out until they are towing in Texas or Arizona in July, is that this transmission hits 230 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit under load. The fluid spec tops out around 220 degrees Fahrenheit. That is why experienced F-150 owners spend $300 on an aftermarket transmission cooler the same week they buy the truck. Now, I will give Ford credit because the F-150 is still the best fleet truck you can buy. Ford makes the only Pursuit-rated full-size pickup in America. Police departments and government fleets default to Ford because the dealer network is massive and parts are always on the shelf. Insurance is the cheapest of the big three, and the aluminum body everybody worried about actually made the F-150 about 30% cheaper to fix after a crash than the average truck. But for the individual buyer standing on a dealer lot right now trying to pick one truck for the next decade, I think the F-150 is running on brand loyalty more than current engineering. I know that makes some of you angry. Good. Go check the complaint database yourself and then come tell me I am wrong. That is the Ford side of this, and I know some of you are already typing. But the truck I am about to get into next does something so different with its drivetrain that I see it misdiagnosed in the shop constantly. The Ram 1500 uses a system called eTorque, and I want to explain what this actually is because I have watched trained mechanics get it wrong. If you own a Ram with eTorque and your tech starts hunting for an alternator under the hood, stop them. There is no alternator on this truck. Ram replaced it with a small electric motor generator that bolts right into the alternator location. On the 5.7 Hemi, it is air-cooled. On the 3.6 Pentastar, it is liquid-cooled. That motor connects to a 48-volt lithium battery pack behind the rear seat. Think of it like a helper motor. At a red light, the engine shuts off completely. When the light turns green, that motor restarts the engine in about 70 milliseconds, faster than you can blink. It also smooths out the cylinder deactivation so you do not feel that annoying lurch when the truck drops from 8 cylinders to 4. But when that 48-volt battery starts to degrade, and it will somewhere around the 3rd to 5th year depending on your climate, the first thing you notice is the auto start-stop quits working. Then the service message hits the dash. Then the voltage gauge starts bouncing. Replacing that battery runs about $1,500 to $2,500 at the dealer, and the motor generator unit itself is $2,000 to $3,000. I have seen both parts on back order for months because Stellantis has been fighting with suppliers over unpaid invoices. The 2025 model year also has a parasitic battery drain issue that is all over the Ram forums. Trucks are coming in dead at 1,700 miles. The electronics stay awake after you park and kill the 12-volt battery overnight. Dealers keep swapping the battery 3 or 4 times before somebody finally reflashes the body control module. One thing owners figured out is keeping the key fob at least 30 feet from the truck when it is parked. That is absurd for a $50,000 vehicle, but it works. Now here is what the Ram gets gloriously right, and I will defend this until somebody proves me wrong. The ride quality is not even in the same conversation as the other two. Ram uses a coil spring rear suspension, where Ford and Chevy are still running leaf springs. Driving a Ram 1500 back-to-back with an F-150 or a Silverado on the same stretch of road feels like going from a luxury sedan to a piece of farm equipment. I have said that in previous videos, and I stand by every word. The interior is not a contest either. I had a customer trade in a loaded Silverado High Country for a Ram Laramie, and the first thing he said was, "It feels like going from a Marriott to a Four Seasons." The Ram cabin has materials, seat comfort, and build quality that Ford and Chevy are not matching right now. Edmunds gave it an 8.5 out of 10. That is not my opinion. That is the guys who test these trucks for a living telling you the Ram interior is a class above. The transmission is the crown jewel. The ZF 8-speed in the Ram is the same unit BMW uses, Bentley uses, Rolls-Royce uses. There are owners on the Ram forums who have posted proof of crossing 500,000 miles on the original ZF 8-speed while towing an Airstream the whole time. Compare that to Ford's 3,500 complaints, and you understand why I keep bringing this up. Here is the weird part though. J.D. Power ranked the Ram 1500 number 1 in the half-ton truck category for 2026. Consumer Reports ranked it dead last. And both of them are right. J.D. Power cares more about mechanical quality, and the Ram's hardware is solid. Consumer Reports cares more about electronics and recalls, and the Ram's infotainment system is a coin flip. So which of those ratings you trust depends entirely on whether a dead touchscreen or a blown transmission is the thing that keeps you up at night. If you are finding this useful and you want more breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe. Now let me get to the truck that surprised me, the Chevy Silverado 1500. I am not calling it a perfect truck, but it has one trick up its sleeve that the Ram and the Ford cannot touch, and a scandal hiding underneath it that almost nobody in the media is covering. The trick is the engine nobody talks about. Chevy offers a 2.7-liter turbocharged four-cylinder in the Silverado, and I know some of you just rolled your eyes because I said four-cylinder in a full-size truck. Hear me out. That little Turbo 4 makes 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. The 5.3-liter V8, the engine that has been the Chevy workhorse for decades, makes 355 horsepower but only 383 pound-feet of torque. The four-cylinder makes more twist at the crankshaft than the V8. And nobody at the Chevy dealership is going to tell you that because they make more money selling you the V8. I had a customer come in with a 2023 Silverado running the 2.7 turbo at 85,000 miles. Oil changes, brakes, one set of spark plugs. That was the entire service history. Meanwhile, I have been pulling collapsed lifters out of 5.3-liter V8 trucks at 40,000 miles for years because the cylinder deactivation system grinds through them like they are disposable. But the real sleeper in the Chevy lineup is the 3.0-liter Duramax diesel inline 6. It is the only engine across all three brands that actually hits the number on the window sticker when you drive it in the real world. Owners tracking their mileage are averaging 24 to 28 miles per gallon combined. The Ford PowerBoost Hybrid is rated at 24 miles per gallon combined on the sticker, and owners are getting 19 miles per gallon. That is a 5 miles per gallon gap between what Ford promises and what the truck actually delivers. The Duramax has no gap. For a truck you plan to put 150,000 miles on, that fuel difference adds up to thousands of dollars. But I promised you the scandal, and here it is. The 6.2-liter V8 in the Silverado and Sierra is sitting in the middle of one of the largest engine recalls in modern truck history. Nearly 600,000 vehicles were built from 2021 through 2024. The problem is metal shavings left over from the factory sitting inside the oil passages, plus crankshafts that were not machined right from the supplier. Some of these engines blew up with 4 miles on the odometer, 4 miles off the dealer lot. The recall fix is what should concern you the most. If the dealer inspects the engine and it passes a quick visual check, the entire repair is an oil change from 0W 20 weight to 0W 40 weight and a new oil fill cap. That is what they are calling a fix for an engine that might have metal shavings floating through its oil system. The feds came back for another look in late 2025 because 36 engines failed after the recall repair was already done, including some replacement engines that themselves blew up. If you are shopping a used Silverado or Sierra with the 6.2-liter engine, checking the recall history before you sign is not a suggestion. But the scary thing hiding on the Chevy is something I have not seen a single truck review even bring up. The Silverado frame has been coated in a wax undercoating since 2011, and that wax is peeling off and exposing bare steel. Owners with trucks under 50,000 miles are showing frame rust that looks like a 15-year-old vehicle from the Salt Belt. Chevy put out a service bulletin, but instead of recalling the frames, dealers are using that bulletin to turn you away when you come in for warranty work. If you live anywhere with road salt, crawl under the Silverado you are looking at and check the frame coating with your own eyes. Now I am going to tell you which truck I would actually spend my own money on. I have been working on trucks for over 20 years. If you forced me to pick one for the next decade, I would take the Ram 1500 with the Hemi and the ZF 8-speed. The ride is in a different league, the cabin is in a different league, the transmission has the longest track record of any half-ton truck transmission out there, and it is not even close. I would plan for the eTorque battery around year 4, keep my fob away from the truck at night, and accept some electronic headaches that are annoying but not dangerous. If you tow heavy and want a diesel that actually delivers the fuel economy the sticker promises, The Silverado with the 3.0 Duramax is the sleeper pick of the entire class. Just stay far away from the 6.2 V8. And if you are a fleet buyer who needs parts on the shelf and the cheapest insurance out there, the F-150 is still the smart pick. But do not stand there and tell me it is the best truck on this list, because the data does not back that up anymore. One thing I did not get to cover today is what happens to these 3 transmissions and battery systems in extreme cold, extreme heat, and high altitude. I am deep into that right now, and some of what I am finding is going to change a few of these recommendations depending on where you park your truck. Drop your climate in the comments: snow belt, desert, mountains, coast. If you have crossed 100,000 miles on any of these 3 trucks, I need your data. If you missed my video on 9 stupid RAM features that are killing your gas mileage, go watch that one next, because at least 2 of those features connect directly to what we just covered today, and you might be wasting fuel right now without knowing it.